I'll be sure to come back with another update on getting hand cleared and the rest of the process with Bank of America and getting the closing day. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. I am Jazzie.RayShaune, and I am back with another video update about our NACA home buying journey. The last video update I did was on June 12th, and in that video I was giving you all a timeline of where we were in the process, and we got up to the point where we were waiting to hear back from the hand department and Bank of America because we were already at the bank application process. In the last video, y'all, my mind was all over the place. I was mixing up dates, all kind of stuff, but I got typed notes now. I was looking at my own handwritten notes, and y'all, I got chicken scratching. Sometimes I can't even read my own handwriting. But I got typed out notes here in front of me, so this video should make a lot more sense. I also realized that in the last video, I kept referring to the hand department, but I didn't really explain what that is. Which is my fault. I was talking as if everybody watching this is currently going through or been through the NACA process, trying to purchase a home. So first off, I want to start off by explaining what the hand department is. They are a department within NACA, and HAND stands for Home and Neighborhood Development. And basically the hand department ensures that the home that you are getting ready to purchase is safe for you to move into. Structurally, anything that could harm your health or anything like that, they want to make sure that it's safe for you to move into. So that's why when you get your inspection completed, it's sent off to the hand department so they can review and let you know if there will be any required repairs before you actually can move forward with the home buying process. So that's what the hand department does, and they give you a few different options if you do have required repairs. You can request for the seller to fix the repairs, so that's one option. You can do a rehab escrow, and what that means is, let's say you have required repairs that are $1,500. Well, let's say a little bit more. Let's say $5,000. And as opposed to paying that out of pocket, you could actually pay that, put that into escrow into your loan. So you can roll that amount into your loan and pay it along with your mortgage. They would just have to determine that, because I believe they let you go up to 110% of your mortgage. So let's say you're already at your max of what they believe you can afford for your mortgage, including your principal, your interest, your taxes, and your homeowner's insurance. If you're already at your max there, I believe NACA allows you to go up to 110%. So you can still go over if you need to rehab, escrow your rehab. So that's one option. So first two options are you can have the seller complete the repairs, or you can roll the repairs into your loan. The last option is to waive the repairs altogether. And basically what that means is you say, yeah, I know that these are required repairs, but I can afford to fix them on my own, so I want to waive them. The third option is what we wanted to do if there were to be required repairs. Because remember, we went into this contract saying we were going to do an inspection, but we were taking the house as is. So the seller was not going to be required to complete any repairs. So we knew that wasn't going to be an option. We did not want to roll repairs into our loan. So we knew that was off the table for us as well. So the only option left is to waive it. So that's what the hand department is. So last video I told you all we were waiting to hear back from the hand department because the home inspection came back clear, but they hadn't reviewed our termite, radon, or sewer inspection yet. Our radon inspection came back, the levels of the radon were higher than what they should be. They should be at a 4 or lower in a home. They were at 5.5. So we knew that was going to be a required repair. So we already got a quote for that, because one thing I forgot to mention is if you do decide to waive a required repair, you do have to get an estimate from a licensed contractor to give to the hand department so they can determine that you can afford to get that fixed on your own. So we already had that quote waiting before we even heard back from the hand department, because we knew it was going to be a required repair. And that quote we received to do radon mitigation was $865. So we knew that we could afford that, and we knew we wouldn't have an issue with getting it weighed by hand. We just needed the hand department to tell us that it was a required repair. We haven't heard back from them yet at that point. So last time I talked to y'all was June 12th. June 13th, I sent an email to the hand department saying, hey, we submitted these inspection reports on June 6th. Just wanted to see if you all reviewed them and if any there will be any required repairs stemming from those inspection reports. So that was June 13th. That was on a Monday. The 15th, we got a condition back from Bank of America. We were still at the bank. Our application was. The condition was on one of the forms that we had to fill out for the bank app. On a form that I signed, my address was messed up. So I don't know how my husband's, because we live together, so I don't know how they got his right, but mine wrong. So let's say, for example, my address was 123 Main Street. On the form, NACA had it listed as 123 Main, and it was missing street. This is a home bank application, and they're giving us a nice chunk of change for the loan, so everything has to be correct. All I's have to be dotted and all T's have to be crossed. So even though it was something small, I understood why it came back. So my mortgage counselor sent me a new updated form, said print it, sign it, send it back to me. It had my full address on there, so that's what I did, easy fix. So that was June 15th. We got that condition back from the bank and sent that back immediately. I sent that back as soon as I seen it. June 16th, and if y'all see me looking down, I'm looking at these type notes. June 16th, I received a weird email requesting for me to click on a link to verify my employment, and they were saying that they were a third-party company for doing the verification for Bank of America. I had never heard of this, wasn't made aware that I was going to hear from them or anything. So I reach out to our mortgage counselor because I'm like, I know when you get into buying a home, scams come out the woodworks. Hell, I already get a lot of emails from people who trying to scam me, so I was already leery. So I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know I was gonna get an email like this. So I emailed her, and she emails back immediately. She's like, I have no idea what this is. I've never heard of this. Let me reach out to the bank. So she reaches out, and come to find out, the bank did have the third-party company reach out to me. I don't know if this is something new that they're doing, but I just wanted to make sure before I clicked on the link. Apparently, I told you all in a previous video, I've been at my current job since October of last year. When I first started the NACA process, I had only been with that job for 6 months, and I had been with the previous employer for 6 months as well. The previous employer, they didn't have an email address on file for them to verify the employment verification. Even though they already filled out a form, they wanted to be able to contact them directly, perfectly fine with me. So that's why the Bank of America had the third-party company reach out to me to get permission, I guess, to verify employment. At least that's what I thought. When I click on the link, they didn't need my permission to verify employment. They already had everything listed. So this third-party company said, this is everything we obtained from the company. We just need you to verify that it was correct. It had my hire date, the date I left the company, the date, my pay when I left, whether I was full-time or part-time, everything was correct. So all I had to do was hit confirm, and then they said, do you want us to send this back to the bank? Yes, send it back. It was as simple as that. So I was like, okay, that was easy. So got that taken care of for them to verify employment. When I saw that, I'm like, okay, we must be getting close to getting a clear to close from the bank if they're at the point where they're verifying employment. So that was June 16th. June 17th, I get a phone call from the hand department. And she's like, hey, we got the inspection reports, the radon, sewer, and the termite reports. We did review them. She said the radon mitigation will be a required repair. We already knew that, but she dropped a bomb on me. She said, the sewer inspection also has a required repair on it. And I'm sitting there like, what could it have been? Because when I look at the report, it looks fine. We were there when the sewer guy was doing the inspection, and he said our sewer line looked good. He said in the future, he'd recommend us getting hydrojetting, which is like some new type of water cleansing technology for the sewer line. He was like, in the future, I recommend you do that. But right now, you're good. Your sewer line is clear. So I'm like, what could possibly be a required repair? Well, apparently, since he put down hydrojetting as a recommendation, NACA was going to make it a required repair. So I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So I didn't want to argue with her. This is June 17th. Keep in mind, our tentative close date was June 30th. I said, I'm not about to argue with her. We have to tell her this process. If she's saying it's a required repair, it's going to be a required repair. I'm not going to argue with her because we're going to waive it anyway. We're going to get a quote and get it waived. I wasn't going to argue. So I hang up with her. That was a Friday. That weekend, me and my husband were calling around, emailing all different type of plumbing companies trying to get an estimate based on our inspection report. The good thing about the inspection report that the sewer guy, the guy who did the sewer inspection, he included a link to a YouTube video that he uploaded of the inspection of the sewer line. So anybody we were asking an estimate for could see what he saw. So that was a plus. So I was emailing all kind of different plumbing companies saying, hey, here's the inspection report. Here's also the video. Let us know how much it's going to cost to do hydrojetting on this line. We also reached out to our realtor to let them know that, hey, they said radon was going to be a required repair, which we already knew, but they're also saying the sewer. He didn't understand why, because he was there with us when we got the inspection done, and the guy was saying the sewer line was cleared. So he's like, hey, I'm going to reach out to the guy who did the sewer inspection to see if he can type something up for hand to let them know that the line was clear. Hydrojetting was just a recommendation that he gave. He spoke to him via phone. He said that is just a recommendation, but for whatever reason, he wasn't willing to type up anything additional. He felt he didn't need to because he put everything in the original inspection report. I completely understand. Again, we at the tail end of this process, and our closing date is June 30th. I'm not going to argue. I'm going to keep calling around for quotes and submit it to the hand department to get it waived. So we got a few different quotes. The cheapest one we got was it might have been like $195. It was right up under $200. So I'm like, this is the one we're going to submit because we know we can afford that. The other ones we could too, but I'm like, this is the cheapest one. This is the one we're going to submit. So on that Monday, June 20th, we submitted the radon and the hydrojetting quotes, plus the waiver request form. If you want to waive the repairs and complete them on your own after you move into your home, you have to fill out one of the hand department's waiver request forms. So that's what we did. We uploaded those to our web file. I knew we wouldn't hear back that day because it was a holiday. We were off that day. We knew NACA was closed. We knew the banks were closed. We weren't going to hear back because of the Juneteenth holiday. So I submitted those on June 20th. On June 21st, I just logged into our web file that morning. It had to be about 8:30, and our web file status changed to clear to close pending verbal verification of employment. I'm like, OMG, we are at the tail end of this. Like, all they waiting on now is to verify both of our employment. Like, and that's it. And then for us to hear back from hand. 2 hours later, I log in again just to see what the update is. Status says, clear to close final. Lender is ready for you all to schedule closing. I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I was shocked that we didn't have, not shocked. I was expecting to have maybe a ton of conditions. I don't know what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting for us to get through the bank application that easy. Like, I knew we didn't have like a lot of things that would come up during the bank application. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I just expected it to be hard, but it wasn't. Like, the only conditions we had previous to the one that I got for the form that had my address incorrect was verifying, explaining, my husband had to type up a letter explaining why his W-2s for the prior year didn't match his current income, and that's because he got a promotion. And then there was one additional, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last video, but that he had to prove that he was indeed a remote employee, because on his W-2, his employer is listed out of state, and they wanted to be sure that he is truly remote. They don't want us moving to a certain area and his job is somewhere else. So we submitted the form that his job has on file saying that he is a remote employee. That was it. Those were the only conditions we had from the bank. So I was ecstatic, elated, hyped, all of the above, praising God, just like, You got us through this. Like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, we about to be homeowners. So that was the 21st. We got the clear to close final. That same day, I got a call from Hand at the end of the day, like afternoon, and she was calling, basically explaining why we had to get the hydrojetting, because our realtor had reached out to the Hand department saying, hey, even though he didn't have anything written from the inspector, he was like, I spoke to the inspector and he's saying that the line is good. And she just called back and explained, y'all, I was so hyped up from being clear to close final from the bank that I can't even remember why she said that hydrojetting was a requirement. At that point, I didn't care, because remember, on the 20th, we had submitted both the quotes and our waiver request form. So when she got finished telling me why it was required, I was like, that's fine. I submitted the quotes, the estimates yesterday, along with the waiver request form. And she's like, oh, perfect. I'll get in there and review it now, and I should let you know within 10 to 15 minutes whether or not your hand cleared. Sure enough, about 20, 30 minutes later, we get an email saying this file is, this home is hand cleared. The members have decided to waive the required repairs. They do have enough funds to repair it on their own. Blah, blah, blah. All I was saying in big bold letters on the subject line was hand cleared. So all in the same day, we were clear to close final and hand cleared. So I'm super hyped. Keep in mind, this is the 21st. Our tentative closing date is the 30th. So immediately we texting back and forth with our realtor like, can we close early? Today is the 21st. Can we close early? And he's like, I sure hope so. I don't know. I remember the listing agent saying something about the seller was going to be out of town. I'm like, Lord, please don't let her be out of town. Like, I want to close early. So that was the 21st. The 22nd, our mortgage counselor reached out to the closing department and asked them, could we move up closing? Both parties have agreed to move up. Our realtor was able to get in touch with the listing agent, and she said the earliest that the seller would be able to close would be the 28th, 2 days sooner than what we were supposed to. Perfectly fine with me, early is early. So we agreed to that, and the closing department's like, yeah, we can do that, but they need to resubmit an insurance binder and declaration page saying that the homeowner's insurance will now be effective June 28th as opposed to June 30th. I'm like, cool. I reach out to our insurance agent, who is phenomenal. We with State Farm, and they're the bond.com. We already got our car insurance with them. But they always respond immediately. As soon as I emailed them, probably about 10, 15 minutes later, I got the updated binder and declaration page saying that the insurance will be effective June 28th. Sent that off to our mortgage counselor. She submitted it to the closing department, and about 2 hours later, we got a link from Bank of America saying, here is your closing disclosure. Click on this link, create a user ID and password, and you'll be able to view it. So we were able to view our closing disclosure on June 22nd. It had June 28th as our closing date. It had the 3.875% as our interest rate. It had cash to close, which we were expecting to bring maybe $2,000, $2,100. We had so many credits on there, we only had to bring $800 to the closing table. So we were elated and ecstatic about that. I mean, God was just, listen, I say this all the time. Can't nobody tell me God ain't real. Like, he was just showing up and showing out every step of the way in this process. Like, even on days that I felt like giving up, on days where I was like, we not gonna find a home that we want. Our offers gonna keep getting rejected. Like, even on those days, he would remind me in such subtle ways. Like, I would come across verses like on TV, on my phone, like that were reassuring and that were comforting. There was one that was like, it wasn't even a verse, it was just a quote, and it was like, God is working in the background whether you know it or not. And things like that just kept me motivated, like, to keep going, y'all. Like, his hand just showed up all the time throughout this process. But where was I at? I had to take a little praise break, y'all. But Okay, so we got the closing disclosure on the 22nd. It had our closing, the amount funds we had to bring to the closing table, our interest rate. It was just a breakdown. And y'all, I can't believe it. Like, today is, I don't even know if I told y'all what today is. Today is June 25th. And me and my husband are gonna be homeowners in 3 days. Like, I'm still in shock. Like, God is really good. He is really amazing. Like, because you trust and believe that we wouldn't be getting home right now without God. Like, in NACA. Like, it just, not the way we got this. Not the way we got this. Not at all. We do the final walkthrough on Monday, the 27th. But y'all, I'm just, listen, y'all, God is so good. He's amazing. But I don't want to keep rambling. I wanted to give y'all an update of where we were. But I'll probably make another video on closing day, probably before. I probably won't do nothing while we're there closing, because we're gonna be too busy signing, child. But I'll probably make a video after closing just to let you all know how that went, what that process was like. But I am super excited. We started this process with NACA on February 26th, and we will be closing on our first home together on June 28th. And here are some crazy things. I know I said I wasn't gonna keep rambling, but these things just keep popping in my head. My birthday is July 4th, so this is gonna be an amazing birthday gift, trust when I tell you. But you know how you just sit and reflect? This may sound weird to some of y'all, but I just think of little things like this. I moved out of my parents' house a week before I turned 21 into my first apartment. And now a week before my birthday again, I'm getting my first home. Not only that, I'm getting my first home at the same age my mother purchased her first home. Like this, y'all, the way everything is just aligning, like when I sit back and reflect, like I cannot believe that I am about to be a homeowner. This is just amazing. And God is so great. But yeah, this time I'm for real. I'm gonna stop rambling. I will catch y'all in the next video. I'll be sure to update y'all about the closing process and how that went. And y'all, I'm about to be a homeowner. I'm so super excited. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.